Here at CSC Movie Recaps, welcome. We will discuss the Protector Muay Thai movie today. The narrator talks of the fierce warriors known as the Janchurug Kabat tribe, whose bravery and valor were loved by people from all over. He states that the first Jatsurong Kabat warriors were established in 1605 following the Thai army's heavy loss of elephants during the Burmese War. They were the only caretakers and to safeguard the elephants. The king trained the caretakers in the martial arts technique known as Muay Thai. Kam shows his interest in joining them after becoming intrigued. Afterwards he develops an unbreakable friendship with Por Yoi, a baby elephant. In the following scenario, Por Yoi and another elephant stray into the woods. Assuming that his friend is leaving him, this concerns Kam, but his father reassures him that Por Yoi will return to help calm him down. A few years later, Por Yoi and Cup, the female elephant, gave birth to a healthy youngster they have called Corn. Kam has become an experienced Jatsurong Kabat warrior as well. One day, while Corn is grazing in the field, a group of poachers appear. His parents, however, run to save him before they can take him. One of the poachers accidentally shoots his gun, hitting Cup as they start to flee. Sadly, she passes away, leaving Corn's young son without a mother. Despite being heartbroken by this, Kam swears to do all it takes to keep Por Yoi and Corn safe. A few weeks later, Kam and Corn are out and about when Kam's father stops them and speaks to them about the value of powerful elephants. He says that only the nation's top elephants are chosen for the king. Only the strongest of elephants can make it through this extremely rigorous screening process. Kam's town begins preparations for the annual Songkran Water Festival in the following scenario. In the meantime, Mr. Suthep, a local lawmaker, is celebrating his election to the cabinet by holding a party. They are allegedly going to assess the elephant's royal rank. Kam is encouraged by a woman to bring his elephants to the competition. Though he doesn't want to be parted from his beloved elephant, Kam grudgingly consents to participate since he thinks it's the proper thing to do. If he can't see his calf Corn again, he apologizes in advance to Por Yoi. On the festival day, Mr. Suthep and his son Koi receive Por Yoi from Kam and his father. Kam's father and the elephant are taken inside the park, where other elephants have been confined, despite Koi telling him to wait outside. Kam buys the infant elephant a bell when they are out and about in the market. Kam, though, becomes absorbed in the game, and the baby elephant leaves on his own after a group of kids. One of Suthep's goons asks Kam's father to leave the park after forcing him to sign some paperwork. Kam's father protests and fights the MP's son when he realizes he is being duped. However, the MP's son becomes upset and shoots him. The elephant becomes enraged as a result, and he chases after the man and his thugs. A bunch of men abduct the baby elephant in the midst of the commotion. Eventually, Kam finds his father, who tells him about Por Yoi. The big elephant, meanwhile, finds the kidnappers and pursues them across the city. Unfortunately, the elephant is shot by the poachers, who then vanish with both animals. A few days later, Kam's father finally makes a full recovery, and they hold a ceremony to look for lost spirits. In the following scenario, Kam raids Koi's boat home after finding out where Koi is. He is attacked by the poachers, and a battle ensues. Despite being greatly outnumbered, Kam defeats the bad guys. Finally, Koi tries to murder him, but Kam takes his gun and coerces him into admitting that Johnny, a Vietnamese mobster, is in control of the elephants. In Sydney, Australia, Johnny works for the proprietor of the Thai restaurant Tom Yum Goong. Mr. Suthep arrives before Kam can depart and dispatches his minions to pursue him both by air and by water. Kam, though, manages to elude the men and even collide one of their boats with the helicopter. As the weeks go by, rumors of the elephant's theft from Australia spread across the nation, sparking demonstrations. The proprietor of the Thai eatery Tom Yum Goong, Mr. Wattaya Thamrat, dies in the meantime. As a result of Wattaya's affiliation with the Chinese mafia gang and numerous illicit operations, it is thought that his death was motivated by a desire to avoid a commercial dispute. The scene then shifts to Sydney, where Thai-Australian policeman Mark and his companion Rick are being photographed for a documentary. Mark is assigned to Sydney's Asian area, where he is familiar with everyone, even the crooks. A group of thugs are seen in another video threatening a Thai student named Pla. It is revealed that Pla was the late Mr. Wattaya's girlfriend, and the thugs are making her work as a call girl to settle their debt. The transsexual leader of the Chinese gang, Madame Rose, and her uncle, Mr. Sim, are then seen at a meeting with them. It becomes obvious that she aspires to lead the gang's security team. To her dismay, Mr. Sim tells her to run the restaurant because he believes she is incapable of handling the responsibilities. Cam ultimately makes it to Sydney. But as soon as he calls a cab and requests that Jimmy bring him to Tom Yum Goong, later police cars start pursuing Jimmy's car. Jimmy is actually a wanted thief who is disguised as a cab driver. Mark and Rick join the pursuit as well, and they soon corner the thief, who is still holding Cam at gunpoint. Cam seizes Jimmy's gun, though, and manages to escape without the aid of the police. Inspector Vincent, a third police officer, appears out of nowhere and kills the thief with a shot. Cam has been being followed by Vincent since he left the airport. The thief tries to shoot at Cam after he falls to the ground dead. He fails to connect with the shot, and Cam flees for his life. When Mark queries Vincent about his strange behavior, he claims that Cam was not wanted and gives Mark and Rick the go-ahead to apprehend him. The two comply and begin pursuing Cam. He is eventually taken into custody, and they head for the police station. Cam conceals the fact that the relatives in question are elephants while telling Mark he is looking for them. Mark makes a stop at the Tom Yum Goong restaurant en route to meet a friend. Cam notices Johnny there. He begs Mark and Rick to take Johnny into custody, but Mark says he can't because Cam hasn't provided any evidence of a crime. As he has no other option, Cam crashes the car and flees. Johnny was supposed to meet Pla on a bridge, so he then follows him there. Cam confronts Johnny and requests the return of his elephants. But Johnny dismisses him and tells his goons to deal with Cam before he leaves. The henchmen engage in combat, which Cam easily defeats, forcing them to flee. Pla cautions Cam not to tamper with Johnny, but he pursues them. He interrupted a heroin trade by forcing him to lead him to Johnny's hiding place. Outraged, Johnny calls in a ton of people involved in extreme sports, and they show up to confront Cam. He is surrounded on all sides and outnumbered by them. During a chase, Cam eventually prevails. Afterwards, he passes out in the alley from great exhaustion. Thankfully, Pla sees him on the street and takes him to her apartment as she passes by. Mark and Rick are removed from the investigation in the meanwhile for allowing Cam to escape from a police cruiser. They are instead tasked to assist Vincent in securing the meeting between the police commissioner and Mr. Sim. Cam also has a dream in which the Jatchurun Kabat, the guardians of the elephants, and more elephants engage in a titanic conflict. Pla decides to leave at that precise moment after receiving a call from the thugs she owes money to. After her departure, Cam awakens from his dream. He scans Pla's residence and finds images of her with Johnny. The local news begins to report that Cam was involved in a drug deal in Sydney and that the authorities are looking for him. Pla hears the news on the street and heads back to her apartment, but she stops and stands back when she sees the police pulling up in front of her building. From inside the flat, Cam also sees the cops and scales the walls to flee. The next shot reveals that Pla is one of the dancers at the meeting between Mr. Sim, the police commissioner, and them while Mark and Rick are manning the security outside the building, oblivious to what is happening inside. The commissioner becomes overexcited while Pla is dancing and has to grab his medicine to calm his heartbeat. Everyone is shot dead except for Pla when an armed attacker shows up as Pla is going to get the medicine. When the gunshots are heard, Rick and Mark rush over to face the killer right away, but Vincent quickly steps in and kills him. Vincent suddenly kills Rick by shooting him, then accuses Mark of doing it. Then he gives his soldiers orders to apprehend Mark, but Mark escapes. The murder is captured on the commissioner's camera, and after Mark is pursued by Vincent and his men, Pla steals the camera and flees. Mark is eventually captured by Vincent when he uses a local woman to lure him to an abandoned building. Vincent understands that Pla has the commissioner's camera and that his guys were unable to kill her. They eventually catch her after some pursuit, but just as they are ready to transport her to the police station, Cam intervenes to save her from the dishonest officers. Cam quickly arrives at the VIP area at the Tom Yum Goong when Pla tells him about it after being saved. He battles his way up to the top dining hall through the VIP area. There, Cam demands his elephants, but Johnny and his men merely laugh at him and taunt him with Corn's Bell. Cam discovers the remains of various exotic creatures when he turns around and knows that Vincent most likely killed the elephants. Cam is incensed by this and attacks Vincent and his thugs. Following is a long fight, but as usual, Cam prevails. He then enters the restaurant storage section, where he finds a variety of exotic creatures that are ready to be killed and eaten. Cam loses all hope when he sees this, but right then, he discovers Mark bound inside a room. He looks to lead his pal outside when suddenly he sees Korn, an old friend. When Cam recognizes him, he is overjoyed, and the group quickly departs the area in a truck before the police show up. Pla remains in the background and observes them leave without pursuing them. Madame Rose poisons the two other candidates for the Chinese gang's leadership during the unveiling of the new leader, paving the way for her ascent to the position. As the news about the restaurant serving meat from endangered species spreads, the police are compelled to shut down the establishment. Inspector Vincent launches a search for Cam and Mark, who are hiding in a Buddhist monastery, after being let down by Johnny once more. In order to prevent the goons from invading the monastery, they ultimately decide to depart. But as soon as they leave, Vincent and his men start a fire in the abbey. Mark and Cam decide to go around and head back since they think there might be a threat to the temple and its occupants. As they get there, Cam is met by 3 assassins, a fearsome capoeirista, a skilled swordsman in wushu, and TK, a huge wrestler. The capoeirista and wushu expert are vanquished by Cam, but TK is too strong for Cam. Cam is about to be killed by the giant when Mark shows up there to aid his escape and the police show up. To prove that Vincent and his men killed the police commissioner and other people, Pla goes to the police and shows Mark's supervisor the video evidence. The following morning, Mark is found by numerous police officers and sent to deal with Inspector Vincent as Cam leaves with Korn. Cam soon makes it to the room where Madame Rose is holding a news conference. Suddenly, Korn enters, scattering the throng, and immediately begins interacting with the gangsters. Later, Mark captures Vincent, but just as he is about to place him under arrest, Johnny shows up and shoots Vincent. The incident leaves Mark speechless, but Johnny explains that it was retaliation for something personal. The skeleton of poor Yori, covered in jewels as a gift to Madame Rose, is presented to Cam and Korn in the following scene. Cam is devastated by this, and he begins to experience memories of his time spent with the cherished elephant. He doesn't have much time to mourn, though, for Madame Rose's men attack him. Cam strikes them more violently out of retaliation, breaking many of the men's arms and legs. Madame Rose calls TK and 3 other fighters from the monastery after sensing the threat. Even though Cam makes an effort to match the goon's strength, he is quickly outnumbered and defeated. Soon after, TK knocks Cam into the elephant decoration, breaking 2 leg bones, and tosses Korn through a glass wall. Using this knowledge, Cam beats the 4 brutal wrestlers by slicing their tendons with the sharp ends of the elephant bones. He knows that the tendons are the most vulnerable and crucial portion of an elephant to defend. He also prevents Madame Rose from using a helicopter to flee, and as a result, they both fall into the room below. Thankfully, poor Yari's tusks help to cushion Cam's fall. When Mark runs into Inspector Lamond in the lobby, he is pardoned by him. Then a new Thai-speaking partner is assigned to him. The final portion of the film features Cam's childhood flashbacks as well as narration from Mark. Mark explains that elephants are revered as brothers by the Thai people, who despise anybody who would harm them. Thais value tranquility yet detest irrational behavior. As the film comes to a close, Cam finally hugs his best friend, Korn. Please subscribe to the channel and help us grow.